Welcome back. In this lecture, I will tell you the good practice of managing your layering system. The layers panel is here. You can float it outside if you want to, but default position is what is recommended. Layers panel among all the panels here like properties and so is very important in all projects you are doing in Rhino. Any object we create in our graphical section is given some layer. You should follow the good practice of managing your layer very well from the beginning of any project. So later on you have everything organized. Now you see some objects and they all are now in one layer, and that is everything. I will explain you how you can organize them, but before let me give you a tip here that always use one layer as empty layer. I have given the name empty and you can give any name to it. Use this layer when you are not drawing anything and just analyzing the geometry. You will better understand now in a while the importance of it with the example. So let's start the example. Now let's assume we have two baskets, okay, and then we have few objects in both of them. So how we can organize them and how we can assign a separate layer for all of them. So now if you go to this option, when you hover over it, it says new layer. So there are two ways to create a new layer. One is we just click this one, or if you just go here and you right click, and then it gives you the option of new layer. So let's create from here. We say new layer. Now it's asking us to give the name. Let's say basket one, enter. Okay, so now what we have to do, we have to assign our basket, which is in the everything layer, and it should now be on basket 1. So we simply go to the basket 1, you even just hover over it and right click, and then here is the option change object layer. Just click it, and now if you see, this is basket 1. And if I preview this off, I can do it from here. Now what about the objects? To organize these objects within this basket, what we can do is we can create sublayers. There are two ways of creating sublayers. One is this option just after this, or you just hover over it and right click and you have the option here new sublayer. So let's create new sublayer. Okay, so now it's asking for the name. Let's say we call it object 1, enter, and then we have to assign. I select the object, which is everything now. I go to the object 1, I right click and then assign. Okay, if I see now basket 1 and object 1. All right. So how you know you are in the sub layer? You can see the arrow here. You can also click here and you can collapse and you can expand. Now we have to select the second one. We have two options again now. One option is we just click here and we say new layer. For example, if I go here and I say new sublayer, I can create it like this. I say object 2, and the other method is I can duplicate. Okay, so now let's assign this one here. Okay, so now we have object 2, object 1 and our basket. And the good part is if you just click on the main parent layer, which is basket 1, it will preview off everything and you can do it separately as well. Cool. Now what about this? It's still all in everything. So as I said, you can create a new layer or you can create duplicates. So now I will tell you how you can create the duplicates. So when you hover over it, you have two options here. One is duplicate layer and one is duplicate layer and objects. In the duplicate layer, it will just duplicate the layer only with the name, and it will say copy and you can rename it, and here it will give you the objects as well. We don't need the objects, we just need the naming and we need a duplicate layer. Okay, so I will go for this. Okay. All right. So as I said, you have the name copy with it. So you just remove it. And this time I say basket 2. And now you can see that we haven't made the duplicate for the objects. So even if I preview this off, nothing will happen. So it's still in its own layer. And here if you see, these all are from basket 1. If I preview this off. Okay. So now let's do some assigning. What we can do is we can select this, assign it here. Okay. And then we can also assign for the objects. Let's say object 1, object 2. And now we can also duplicate here. We say duplicate layer. Okay. This is object 3. And now we are left with this one with the everything, and we can assign it here. Okay, perfect. So now if you see, if I preview off this, basket 2 is gone, and here the basket 1 is gone. So if I bring it back, so this was containing all of them in one layer, so we don't need this anymore. This is the good practice of going with it, that you should have separate layers and organized layers. What else you can do here is you can also move them up and down. For example, when you click on any of these, so you have some option here which says move up. For example, if you go here, it is giving you up and down both options. So let's say, for example, if I click down, now it's gone down, so it should be up. Okay, one option, you just delete it from the keyboard, and one option is also you can delete it from here. Now let's see how you can lock your layer. For example, here you can see the icon of lock. For example, if I click here, it will lock everything which is in the sublayers and this layer. And what will happen is basically, if I try to select all of them, it will not select the basket 1. Okay, you can see I am unable to select this. It's good because now I cannot even accidentally delete it. Or if I want to draw over it, I can draw and I have the reference points. Okay, you can see it can snap. Okay, now let's see why we need the empty layer. For example, if I click here, and then if I want to preview off or on, I cannot do anything. I don't have any more ability to preview on or off, and also lock and unlock, because now I am on this layer. So that's why I said if you use empty layer, then you have always the option of previewing off, previewing on. So what we have covered in this lecture: how to assign layer to any object, methods of creating new parent layers, methods for creating sublayers, how to organize layers, how to duplicate layers and objects in it, how to delete a layer, empty layer advantage.